And we're live. Welcome back to the Doomer Bloomer podcast with Will Nemo and John Wynn. Hey, John, how's it going?
Hey there. Yes, I am back. And haven't done this in a while, but it's good to be back and good to have a our first conversation on air in 2023 and a lot of shit going on. So
A
let's
lot has happened since 2021, hasn't it? It's been 2022 was a squeezer of a year.
yeah, I thought we did do something in 2022 though.
Nope.
But
We
yeah,
did a brief preamble in November of 2021.
gotcha. Wow, it's been that long, eh?
Yes, sir.
Time flies. Time flies when you're busy,
Oh yeah, dude.
working on 20 million different things. But
At least four.
yeah, yeah, for me, it's working like business wise and for financial reasons for,
Yeah.
plus other things that are pretty important to me besides that. But yeah, busy, busy. And, you know, with the stuff I got going on, I never feel like I have enough time for any of them because like I'm so spread out, but that's the curse. I can get good at a lot of things, but I guess that's the curse of someone that has polymath tendencies.
Yes,
I just
I
can't help myself.
well, I think it's like Grant Cardone says, it's about basically setting your priorities and saying no to your distractions, right?
Yeah.
And that's for me like 2023 is about saying no to a lot of things. I'm crushing three different podcasts. I'm crushing my own renewable or sustainable energy business this year. And yeah, working full time at the same time, right? So it's it's all juggling. So I enjoy spending time with you, John. So we wanted to discuss this emerging chat GPT or OpenAI, or as people are calling it. I have used it. I'm sure you have used it, John. It's probably the topic of discussion for 2023 January so
Yeah.
far. I know Alex Hamosi did a video about it, and we just wanted to chime in
Yeah.
and
I mean, it's been everywhere.
yeah,
A lot of people have talked about it on, you know, be it people like Joe Rogan and guests, very smart people. What's his name?
yeah,
Really, really smart guy. Really smart guy. He's actually. We're going to get into kind of like the economic state of the current economic state of the world a little bit too later on. Kind of ties in with AI economics for sure. But yeah, I think like the Chat GPT is like one of the more current emerging AIs right now that can do extraordinary things. But that's just like one by many that have been developed and have done extraordinary things and are in development right now. And I think like the overarching topic here is going to be about like the future implications of AI in general, right?
well, we're I mean, we've seen it. I kind of predicted this about 2 years ago.
Well, we've talked about this like in the first few podcasts we did together.
Yeah, in 2019, we did. If you look back in the archives, I know specifically which episode. I'll try and link it in the description. But
Yeah.
we knew that this eventuality was coming. We just didn't know how fast and where and when. But it sounds like all of these technology companies are pushing, pushing, pushing. That's why OpenAI is a thing. That's why Neuralink is a thing. A lot of people are interested in this emerging technology, right? because it's basically able to take the collective knowledge of humanity and condense it into a chat box, essentially,
Yeah,
right?
basically use it, have access to it almost instantly, and be able to make coherent.
I figured out how to jailbreak it to get rid of the wokeness that crept in into the
Gotcha.
programming. Somebody sent me a script to jailbreak it so it's not so woke,
Yeah, there's quite a few things. Yeah,
because it spits out some really like social justice warrior, like it's just it's quite interesting. But I personally use it a lot of the time for net copy. I have been using it for job applications, cover letters. It can do programming, which I'm learning Python, so that's going to be very helpful for me.
good, good.
What about yourself, John? What do you
I've
personally?
used it to devise a plan to conquer the world and
Oh,
become
Genghis Khan
the
style?
president, the undisputed president of Earth, but
You mean Emperor of Earth?
emperor. Yeah,
Can I?
the,
Yeah. Can I be your advisor?
yeah, sure.
I don't want to be.
Last Chat GPT though, well,
Okay.
that would ultimately make Chat GPT the real puppet master.
Well, who's controlling who at a certain point, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
The lines get really blurry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's such a disruptive technology. It's just like,
yeah,
who is controlling who? Like, did I actually come up with what I came up with because I asked an intelligent question and
yeah.
it gave me a collectivism
Well,
type of
yeah.
answer?
Well, this is going to be important. This is probably going to be a very important skill in the future. Is like how to prompt these AIs to get valuable information and valuable insights from it.
Yeah,
Um,
like I
well,
want to
like
be.
like a more primitive example is like Boolean searches on Google, for instance.
Ah, yes, of course.
You can get a lot more information. Like if you maximize how to search, I
Yes.
mean, like Google is a lot more cool than people think because people really don't know how to search. A lot of people don't know how to search on Google, right? There's a
Hmm.
bunch of processes that you can implement when you're searching that can give you such a more in depth look of what's out there where you can really dial in the exact information you want. Because, like, I mean, with all the SEO and then market, like paid ads and stuff like that, it's very hard when there's all this information on the web to give relevancy.
Well, I
Years
mean,
or
we're
even
look.
though Google's done a great job, hence it's why it's one of the most popular, well, not popular, but one of the biggest market cap companies in history. You know, it's a very hard undertaking at this point. There's so much content out there, but I think like the future, at least in the somewhat near to mid-term future, those that can maximize using these AIs and use their creativity and all that to be able to get the most out of it are the ones that are going to benefit the most. Of course, um, beyond the programmers and the investors into the technology, right? Besides those people, which are, obviously the ones that are going to profit and benefit the most off of it. But
Well, like I said, I've been using it to write cover letters, copy, and programming. I think that's just the tip of the iceberg for me. I haven't really.
it is like already, and this is something I started dabbling with, but I will definitely dive deeper into it. You can actually write scripts, trading scripts. So
Yes.
you can implement some inputs and some code snippets and all that, and then you can basically it can generate you a trading script, which becomes like a trading bot for you to trade a certain strategy that you fine tuned yourself. which is
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
I
Uh,
mean,
of course, we know it can code. I'm not like the biggest coder. I'm not really a coder. My wife is, but for me, yeah, obviously copy, internet copy. That's one of my projects right now. Is in a certain niche. We're building we're building like a passive income business, with affiliate marketing and stuff like that. And one of the things you want to do is release content and reviews and stuff on certain projects and products. And GPT, I mean, it's like a 100x productivity tool for that. Like you can put in an article, say, hey, can you write me a product review similar to this here, and but for this product here, and I'll just do it in a matter of seconds, which is absolutely insane. You can use it. Just write me an essay or an article about this topic, and you don't have to necessarily promote anything. You're just giving useful content to people, and it spits out coherent, good content like in seconds. Jordan Peterson was talking about he tried it, and I'm paraphrasing. I'll try to get it as precise as possible, but he said, I asked it to write a book or a chapter about a new rule based on my book, 12 Rules, with a, I can't remember the Eastern, I think it was a Zen or Taoist in King James Bible style, where it makes sense in both or verses. They, and supposedly it just churned out something absolutely amazing, coherent, and that most people wouldn't be able to tell the difference if it was him or not. And
like a deep
that's
fake.
spectacular,
Yeah.
right? That's absolutely spectacular. A very profound author like himself, you know, is it would take him a lot of time and effort to make something that would represent like his actual viewpoint, and this AI did it in a matter of seconds. So that comes to fear that a lot of people are having is like, whoa, what about my job? What
Well,
what am I going to do with the?
have John, have you read the book Hard Times Create Strong Men by Stefan Arnio?
No, I haven't, but I'm
Well, I'm
very familiar with that concept, right?
let me just paraphrase what he says in the book
Mm-hmm.
because it speaks to what you just said. Is we have reached at about 20 the year 2016, we have reached like at the last election cycle for Donald Trump,
Mm-hmm.
like we reached what we call the conceptual age.
Okay, I'm not
and,
familiar with
and
this.
we're moving from labor-based professions, right, to technological innovation and creativity-based professions, right? Like physical labor jobs,
Mm-hmm.
like no offense, in 10 to 15 years, they will be automated because that is the for in terms of safety, ease of use, and ROI. These things don't need to eat, they don't need to sleep, they don't take breaks, they don't smoke cigarette. Like there's just from a company perspective, and you're going to have to look
Sure.
at it. You're going to have to look at it from a very much a business perspective, a very capitalist perspective.
Yeah.
Human beings are, and I don't like to like demean humans or put people in classifications. It's just we're moving from a labor-based society into a conceptual and technological based society, right? And I call it the 1971 divide. Like if you haven't like mentally went past 1971 in your thinking, and then 2001 in your thinking, and like got it onto the internet and figured out
So
how to
yeah,
do the,
like tranches
you know what I mean?
of progress, right?
Right there, like for myself and yourself, we're both, you're a zennial or an exennial, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
yourself. you're an early adopter, millennial, whatever you want to call that.
Yeah, I'm a first generation,
Yeah,
first or second generation.
you're like a T1 Terminator. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
And I'm like the liquid version of you. You know what I mean? And as the generations progress,
As a
we're
whole, right? Like you would expect older millennials to be a little bit less tech savvy
yeah,
than younger millennials, and then the Zoomers and so on being
you know,
little sideline. Actually, there's a phenomenon right now that Zoomers are feeling what's called tech shame.
yes,
You know, have you heard about this?
not particularly, but fill me in.
Yeah, it's basically that everyone expects Zoomers to be very technologically savvy,
Oh yeah.
and but supposedly they're not really that good with technology.
Oh, okay. I wonder
They
why.
might have like ingested it and used it all their lives, but when it
Yeah.
comes to like, let's say for instance using an Excel sheet or whatever, they're completely like brain dead. And again, this is a generalization, but they're completely brain dead. I because I think for like an early millennial like me, technology was so fascinating, right? It was such a
Yes.
brand new thing that when I was like before I was a teenager, it was practically non-existent. Like at least like computer wise and stuff like that. There was little pockets of it here and there that had pockets of people that might have like a Commodore 64 and Amiga and like it could do cool things, but there wasn't really no one was like society as a whole. All my friends as a whole wasn't like doing incredible things with computers. It was kind of like a cool gadget some people, like richer people, had at home type of thing. And
Right.
then in the 90s, it started to change with the internet. And
Connectivity.
exactly. And then access to all kinds of information and novel ways, it's like every week there was a new novel way to do something. And it was like this was the process of imagining the potential and actually seeing the emergence of that potential actually being materialized in the real world, right? Like that was like the 90s. So I think for a lot of people like my age, it was so fascinating that we kind of explored it profoundly. Uh,
Hmm.
compared
Yes.
to compared to the younger generation now that kind of just grew up with it.
Yeah, you take it for advantage when you're just swimming in the ocean, right?
Yeah, you kind of take it for granted, and you're not very curious like about like the underlying on how everything
Yeah.
works. You're kind of like, oh, these funny dances on TikTok. Like for me, TikTok is like one of the most.
Well, it's basically crack for your brain.
Like if they're it's the worst junk food. It's like basically eating chips,
It's
ice
mental crack.
cream, and
It's mental crack. Let's
yeah,
call it what it is, man.
I find it cringe.
You actually you get a reward without actually doing any work at all.
Exactly.
Pick up a book and study.
Exactly, and that's hard. Even for me, that used to be an
You
avid
know,
reader. Like I always read something consistently.
the
Like,
bit the bit the
like
bit
I always had one book by my bed that I would read. If it wasn't every day, it was like I'd read at least a chapter or two a week, and that was like on the low end. And when I found a book that I really liked, I could devour the whole book like
Oh
within
yeah.
a few days. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
And,
yeah.
and since I've been more and more invested in using technology, like I really started like digging deep technologically in 2010 for me. Like, well, this is where I'm like, this is where things are going. How am I going to use
Well,
this tool beyond being,
yeah.
getting information on various topics and stuff? Like, how am I actually going to use this tool to earn a living and stuff like that. And I ended
For
up doing it. Right, I went from someone that wasn't really computer literate to someone now can build online campaigns, design websites
yeah,
that can uh, that can really get almost any type of information he needs for something. And like I'm fairly tech savvy, right?
yeah. And I personally went to engineering and technical school,
Yeah,
but I know that side pretty well. I'm working on the software side right now. That's what
yeah,
I mean when I mentioned with the Python. But for me, like you're right. It really started for me when I did the Katimovic program and I got introduced to the WordPress environment,
yeah.
because WordPress actually runs a good majority of the internet.
Yes.
It has a significant market share on the internet.
Isn't
Uh,
WordPress JavaScript though?
I'm not sure what it's written in. I think it's written in JavaScript and CSS
Okay.
and HTML.
Yeah,
But what I like about WordPress is it's a no coding tool, right? You can
that
use it, you can see it, you can see the code if you change the modes
for sure.
from HTML to CSS, you can
Yeah,
see it. But if you're like me and has more of a, it's hard to describe. I'm more right brain than I am left brain.
hmm,
So I see things in pictures rather than words. So it's faster for me to process and digest information through a book than a video. And I think I've talked about this before. Is I don't really sit through YouTube videos anymore. I put them at 2x speed, and I watch the text.
yeah,
That's been my new thing. And honestly, it's the fastest way to digest a video form content on the
yeah,
internet. But I digress. I mean, AI is amazing, dude. Like it just we're just we're on a track here, and it's very important that we put some safeguards in place. I think that's the next topic of discussion is like
yeah.
w-
Well, so
w-
like we're like the point of this topic is kind of like knowing what are the implications of this in the future, right?
yeah,
And now we're approaching. This is not any theory of mine. This is a Ray Kurzweil theory that I've known about probably since around 2010, 2011, called the singularity,
yeah.
and it's basically it could like briefly it could be condensed as this. It's we get to a certain point of technological advancement where where no one has absolutely any idea what's beyond that certain point. Meaning technology will be so advanced and it will be it like there's so many possibilities from that point that there's absolutely no way. Like it's like by 20 he predicts by 2040 or 2040 to 2050 we're going to reach that point.
Oh yeah.
And
If not
that kind of
sooner.
means it's like, well, and maybe in 2100 we're going to be like completely digitized, right? Like we'll be able to digitize our brains and live forever like an altered carbon, or we'll have breakthroughs on to enhance our bodies and make them
Wow.
so uh,
If I have anything to say about
genetics and
it,
stuff like
it
that. Like
yeah.
the possibilities are endless, right? We might
Yeah.
actually just decide to upload as a human race, upload our consciousness within the AI, merge with it, and the human body as the human race as we know it is completely a digitized
Well, I
form.
mean,
So
it's like I talked about before. We're transitioning from a carbon-based living to a silicon-based living, right?
yeah,
That I think, I mean, that's the next step, right? We can't be sending monkeys to the moon and monkeys to Mars and expect good results. I think they're actually wasted efforts in my opinion. So,
sending people to Mars.
yep, I think it's a wasted effort. My personal opinion.
I don't think so, but I
I
have.
mean, technologically, I think the technology is interesting, and like to have a habitable and terraform a planet. I think that's
Mhm.
interesting, but I think we should have our shit sorted out on the planet that we live on before we go try to
Well, for
duck.
sure. Here's the thing.
That's my cravat. That's my cravat. Is I don't agree with ducking up some other place until we have our stuff sorted here on Earth.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And because we don't have our stuff sorted here, man, not yet.
Well, we don't. We don't. And hopefully, with the advancements like we've seen recently before the holidays with nuclear fusion, there will be some pretty interesting advancement. Like for me, like the the exciting part of this is with AI. Once it is being, it's going to be able to be parsed out and specialized field.
Yeah,
So once an AI is able to, instance, have an AI really specially designed for genetics, and another one specially designed for engineering, and another one designed for coding,
yeah,
and so on and so on.
yeah.
This is probably what we're going to see in the next 5 to 10 years here. Now, from that point, I theorize that's where like absolute golden age of advancements are going to materialize.
Oh yeah, man.
You
I
know, you
golden
now we
golden.
know theoretically we can create fusion where we can.
Well,
We've been
it's
able
not.
to make fusion energy for a long time, but like the problem was that we were never able
You
to
need to. You
create
need to.
fusion. We the fusion energy generated was always less than
Yes.
the input of energy required to create that output of fusion energy.
You never created a sustained reaction, is what you're trying to say.
Exactly. It always took more energy. Like it took 2 units to break it down easily. It would always take at least 2 units of common energy, be it electrical or whatever, to create 1 unit of fusion energy. But now
Yeah.
we've we've gone beyond that threshold. It, I think it took like zero point 0.5 units of regular energy to create 1 unit of fusion energy, something like that, right? But we've been able to create it in a contained, sustained way, somewhat, very minuscule, definitely not commercially viable now. But now that we have like this little embryo of potential here with these tools that are
Well,
able to
we
100x the process and research and so on.
well we can start working towards the Kardashev scale, right?
Exactly,
Like
exactly.
we're at like maybe 50%, 55% the Kardashev right now. Maybe some would say seven.
No, no, I would say we're closer to we're between like zero point 0.7 or zero point 0.8, and I'm
Yeah,
actually
yeah, 0.8 makes sense.
yeah.
0.75 actually makes sense.
Once we get fusion, well, I would say we would, because basically with fusion we we we'd have limitless energy at this point.
Yes, and that's
Like
on it.
according to Kardashev, is like we would be using all the energy that touches the Earth, which in
Yeah,
theory wouldn't actually be realistic, right?
and
Because
and
if you use
and
all the energy of the sun that
yeah,
touches the Earth and you like keep it,
yeah,
you're actually going to warm up the Earth. You're
yeah.
actually it's actually not very viable or interesting to do that.
Well, what I want to say is for listeners who aren't familiar with the Kardashev scale, you can look in the archives of the Yukon Gold podcast, and I did an episode specifically about what the Kardashev scale is and how to attain it, and I will link that in the description.
Yeah, but let's give them a quick description. Level one civilization is able to have like basically all the resources necessary, like all the potential energy, like reaching Earth or within Earth is being is potentially being able to use it basically means that we have complete control over
Planetary resources.
and energy,
Yes.
and we're at a technological point where we can do things like control the weather and you know exploration within the solar system is no big deal and so on.
Yes.
And number two is being able to maximize every resource and amount of energy within the solar system. And
Yes.
and you know that
Le- Level 3 is galactic.
yeah, basically yeah, you completely master the galaxy
Yeah.
is basically what it means. To be honest, I think even before we get to a level two, you like we're to be honest, I like if computing power goes the way it continues.
Well, Moore's law says it doubles every 18 months.
Say what?
Moore's law says it's a doubling of every 18 months, right?
Yeah, but it's even more now.
Well, it's exponential, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's even more now. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But like what really excites me to get back to that is really the scientific advancements. Uh,
Yeah.
we've talked about this before, like life extension, being
Yeah.
able to live a lot longer. Let's say to 150, but not only live to 150, but like be weak and feeble. Being able to
It,
live like over 100 years, but be in the body of a 30 or 40-year old. Most people, most normal people don't really think about that, but like the be it like the Googles and Jeff Bezos and all, they are investing heavily into that because they know the research is progressing quite a bit when it comes to that. And now with AI, I am convinced that within the next 10 to 20 years, we're going to see like 80-year-olds that look like 40-year-olds walking or 30-year-olds like walking.
you won't be like it's just like who's that gentleman you always talk about? He's in his 50s, but he looks like he's 30.
Yeah, yeah, David Sinclair.
Yeah, David Sinclair, man, he's on the cutting edge of epigenetic research.
Exactly. You also have Bobby the Gray,
Yeah,
who's kind of in the the same sphere as David Sinclair, and you've got many more. It's like there's a lot of people working on this, and there's a lot of money being poured into this. And now with tools like AI, it's only a matter of time. And that's the exciting part, right? Like that's the exciting part of like seriously to be like, hey man, I might be able to live to 150, 200 years old. Just what we're seeing on the horizon right now. Like I said in the podcast we did like a few years ago, what like so let's say the limit for now within the next 50 years, the limit is like you live to 150, between 150 and 200 years old in a body of a 30 to 40-year old, but we can only redo the process like a couple times of rejuvenation. So
mm.
if you're 60, then you go back to a 40-year-old, 30-year-old, or 20-year-old body. We can only do it like three times every 20 years, type of thing.
Yeah,
You know,
it's called a rollback.
yeah, exactly. So let's say the limit is 3 years, right? Three times.
Yeah.
And that makes it that, it doesn't matter what we do with the current technology. Once you hit like 150 to 200, you're going to die for whatever reason, right? We don't have a set limit. But during all this time, do you think like innovation in that space is going to end? Hell no. You know, for one, now you're going to have like all these centenarians, like these absolutely incredibly smart centenarians that have the drive and energy of like 20, 30-year olds working, but they have like 100 years worth of knowledge working with these super powerful programs, AIs that they'll gotten used to work with on a daily basis for fucking decades to further the advancement of humanity. Like, do you know how exponential that is? That's like crawling as a baby and driving an F1, or even like going in a hypersonic jet at the minimum. Like, that's the difference in speed there. And that's the difference in speed where we're probably going to see like technological advancements in the future. Like, I mean, like, think about it. I mean, for like, we had like some technological revolutions, like maybe around 10,000 years ago with agriculture. And then you had the bronze revolution and the iron revolution and all that. Like, you could like say from 10,000 years ago to maybe 200 years ago, things weren't really that different. A skill that you learned like 1,000 years ago, and that same skill would still be relevant 200 years ago. And within, like, you take someone from 200 years ago and put him back in time like 2,000 years ago, he'll probably be more at home, like feel more, like understand the world better than if you put him like just 200 years into the future. He'll be completely disoriented and won't know what the fuck is going on at all. Like, he'll probably have a fucking aneurysm.
Yeah, I think it's easier to go backwards in time than it is to go forwards in time.
Exactly, and again, that's that singularity. So I'm really excited of like what scientific discoveries are going to be revealed in the next 20 years. Like, it's going to be mind blowing. I mean, like this Chat GPT and the DALL E3, where you give it a couple prompts and it'll generate like images that are pretty spectacular. I mean, you look at this AI that's now able to predict protein folding. This is a little bit more complex. I really don't understand all the implications and all that, but it basically now gives geneticists and epigeneticists the power of predicting how proteins will fold, and that has like a whole bunch of applications on how to treat like all kinds of diseases and how the genome works and combinations and stuff like that. It's absolutely insane. It's a very, very, very complex model, and it's able to predict it better than any expert in the field. So you've got, of course, like your Alpha Zero and Alpha Go by Google that now created like AIs that self-taught, weren't pre-programmed with anything, and demolished the most powerful chess engines that have destroyed like the greatest chess players in the world. And this is only the beginning. Like, right now, this Chat GPT might be the equivalent of a 1986 computer.
Well, it's probably the Commodore 64 of AIs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's the first engine, right? It's the first
No, but
AI.
it's not the first, and
Well,
they're
not the first, but it's the first I think commercially viable. You know what I mean?
yeah, I think it's you could say it's the first that's available to the public.
Yeah, it's the first publicly viable.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you got things like Jasper and all that. I mean, there's a lot of apps that rely on, like in sales and marketing and all that, that rely on machine learning and all that.
Oh yeah.
So that's why I would say, yeah, it's like maybe a 1980s computer, because it's going quite a bit more beyond the other prototypes we've seen in the past, or the models we've seen in the past. And it's, all of this is only going to get better, right? Especially when it starts specializing within different fields. It's just going to bring ultimately a whole bunch of innovation. Now, the dark side of this is it might change things so fast, and it might create so much disruption that, just within humanity, like humanity, like turning on itself. Like, I mean, you can specialize it in advancing humanity as a whole, but you can also specialize it in a way that, like how about if you use it to specialize in warfare? You know what I'm saying? You let's say China develops something, and then it could be like the nuclear's arm race, except it's the AI arms race, which I already think we're probably in right now.
Oh yeah, 100%. We are 100% reached critical mass there.
Yeah. So what happens if you have like a country like China that has a AI
Wow.
that
Do you
knows
not?
how to completely disrupt the American economy, right? It doesn't
Do
even
you,
have to be like warfare, like
I mean, look at how like look how anti-China Donald Trump was, right? In regards to having foreign powers have companies like TikTok operating in, you know, in foreign lands. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Well, the India banned TikTok, and I think another country. I would be surprised to see TikTok banned within North America within the next couple years. And like for the app itself, I'm glad because I just don't, I really despise that app.
Well, you know
But
what?
like,
I don't blame you, man. I told you it's mental crack.
yeah, like I've seen TikTok videos. Some of them are entertaining, but that's the thing. But like this is kind of off topic, but the security, the real danger there is the
Well, it creates a backdoor to your machine,
national
right?
security issues. Exactly,
It
right?
creates it creates a backdoor entry to your personal life and your hardware and machine learning. So,
Yeah, exactly. It completely. So when you have that on your phone, you're not only giving up the information about yourself, you're giving up all the information about your contacts that are on your
oh
phone.
yeah,
And
that's 100% accurate.
yeah, exactly. So basically, you're basically downloading the whole
You're
U.S. or Western network into a mainframe somewhere in China, which is definitely minimum a 20 to 30% hostile force. Minimum, right? I mean,
at least 20% hostile.
yeah, exactly.
All right, if we go by the Pareto's principle,
Yeah, minimum.
minimum, right? Yeah.
So so now you have like these exponentially powerful tools in the form of AIs and algorithms and stuff like that have all this data at their disposal, and you can prompt it to,
Well,
ways and
you
methods of
you
destabilizing.
you've watched Westworld, right?
Yes, yes, of course.
I mean, it's something like that, like a Sirach or a AI controlled by a.
Rehombome or whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah,
all that.
it's like a super intelligence that can predict using historical data. It can predict future outcomes, right?
Yep.
And we're gonna start to see like I don't know, it's the radicalization maybe of AI potentially.
Well, for sure. Well, it's like you said, you already like kind of see it in Chat GPT.
With the
Right? Like
wokeism, with the wokeism, yeah.
yeah, with far left, like like in a computer with a chess engine, for instance, right? Most of them come pre-programmed with certain assumptions, right? Like, for instance, if someone does this move, like you'll have something like the Dutch defense or the Sicilian or the English opening and so on and so on. You'll have multiple openings, and they'll pre-program it with if if then statements like if someone does this, you either do this, and then they have like a bunch of statistics that back it up. So most chess engines, not the ones like Alpha Zero and all that, have like all that pre-programmed into it. So what happens if you have like an AI, and this goes more. into the cultural level, not the geopolitical level. What happens if you have a someone like a company that has more left leaning tendencies, which we all have our biases here. I consider myself a classical liberal. I don't consider myself a right person.
I mean,
That's another discussion.
I'm not willing to discuss politics anymore.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that like we all have our political leanings and stuff like that. But like if say the person is a far left person and pre-programs the AI with you know anything that is from that side of the political spectrum is automatically false. So now this AI has to reason within that framework. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes,
It can't make like a complete informed decision based on its initial programming because it was programmed from the get go. Let's say like you take on the other extreme, it's a religious right wing AI where it's programmed that the Earth is only 6,000 years old, right?
and it's flat.
And it's flat, and Jesus is the. So if it comes pre-programmed with that, it's
and
only going to reason within that context. And
and dinosaurs were there to prove our faith.
yeah, and in I mean, this is a far-fetched example. I mean, that'd be hilarious. That'd be the funniest fucking AI.
It's called Noah's Ark.ai.
Imagine it becomes so advanced. It becomes so advanced that it realizes there's like some that it doesn't work, but it's so intelligent that it starts manipulating the laws of physics to actually make it into a reality.
That would be fantastic and
Oh, that
terrifying at the
could be a
same
movie.
time.
That could be a movie.
Oh, dude, we just made a movie plot for 2023.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like it becomes so advanced. Like let's say this AI is like created in 2070 or something, and the advances in quantum physics and the physics and science and chemistry and all that is so advanced. Now this like religious sect, oh, we'll create our own AI with what we know to be the truth, blah blah blah. And then like the AI is like part of it is like, yo, this is stupid. This can't be true. But oh no, it has to be true. So it has like this super
Well, it's an if then else statement, right?
yeah. And then well, if this is true, then I have to find a way to make it true.
Right.
And it like warps space time. It evolves itself just so it can become like and actually becomes like the god of the universe and like Jesus come in. That'd be hilarious.
Well, it would be an 11th dimensional being, right, at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. But the like in a more realistic, at least for now, is now you would have like these AIs that are reasoning within a certain framework that don't have the whole story and that can straight up influence what people are thinking without
Mm,
question. Because a lot
yes.
of people are going to see these AIs as their gods and or as like the absolute truth. It's like there's no point arguing with this, right?
Yeah.
It knows everything, right?
Yeah.
So if you have like either far right
My
base
my god is
or left,
my god is the flying spaghetti monster.
yeah, exactly. That's
I'm
that's
past I'm pastafarian.
that is so like fucking
Well, if you go to the Kansas education website, I'm pretty sure it's still on there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? Well, like the
Well,
Spaghetti Monster was like this is like in the early days of YouTube when you had like these
yeah, the full backstory on that is the guy wanted to change his driver's license to say he was pastafarian and put his and wear a colander on his head,
yeah
and he did it. And then he applied to to Kansas State Education Board to get the designation recognized as a real religion.
yeah
Like that is dedication right there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he was trying to prove his point, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. This debate about religion and atheism was very prevalent in like 2007, 8, 9, 10. Like,
Yeah.
there was a whole atheist movement.
Wow.
Well, they made their point. I think most people are not like into religion anymore, and I think it's
Well, I mean, there's reasons for that. I mean, speaking back to the religion aspect of it, I mean, let's take Jordan Peterson for example, right? Very religious man, very devout Christian, right?
no, I don't think so. I don't think
No?
I no, I
What
don't think
what
he's
he's not a Christian?
I he's more a philosophical Christian,
Christian. Yeah, okay. So he yes. Yeah, that would make more sense. Yeah.
and you know I I think just philosophically he's trying to get a deeper understanding of existence as a whole through religion and philosophy. I think he prefers Christianity over most of the other religions and
Okay.
philosophies and stuff,
Yeah.
but he definitely does not shut the door towards all these other religions.
No, he's not what's that called? He's not a religious zealot in that sense, for sure.
Well, since he has like this Carl Jung perspective, I think he sees everything like as archetypes, right? All
Yes.
these religions and Eastern philosophies and stuff like that as archetypes. And you know, within Jungian psychology, you have like this idea of the unconscious, the collective unconscious, where archetypes are kind of manifestations of a common human experience, no matter what the culture is. Like a weird example would be like dragons, right? Like if you look at all these different cultures that had zero contact with each other for millennia and centuries and so on, be it South America, Europe, Asia, and all that, they all have like a version of the dragon, for instance, right? So you could say that's a manifestation of a certain archetype. You know, some would argue it's kind of like a instinctive fear that we all carry because like reptiles and flying things could be
Wow.
dangerous to us
I
when
mean,
we're
genetically speaking, we all used to be reptiles.
yeah, but like I mean, like genetically, like that's like hundreds of millions of years. As like our mammalian ancestry is like the most recent. Like we're
Yeah.
still mammals. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, but that definitely got built on top of the reptilian brain, right?
for sure, yeah. I mean, we
But no, there is an instinctive fear of reptiles for sure.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it could be as simple as that. It could be something deeper. Who knows? But basically, like Jordan Peterson, his worldview, I think is very influenced by Carl Jung. So, I who saw a lot of meaning in spirituality and all that. He thought we were way beyond our repressed rage and sexual desires and stuff. He had a more
And
metaphysical.
yeah, like a more enlightened view of things.
That's where like Jordan Peterson is trying his best to understand and explore, right? So yeah, so what man, where were you going with Jordan Peterson and religion?
Well, just saying that like he's very much in the zeitgeist right now. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he has basically, at least in Canada, has defined the 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 debate or the discussion around, what is masculine, what is feminine, what is transgenderism.
Yeah,
And I see them trying to trash talk him in the media, mainstream media like CBC. They're trying to get him to go through thought thought reprogramming training, and they're threatening to suspend his medical license if he doesn't comply.
yeah,
Like it's getting to the point of ridiculous. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
I went through a similar thing myself in 2021. I'm not going to name the institution just for legal reasons, but there's a lot of wokeism and social justice warrior and backwards feminism, because feminism is great, don't get me wrong, but there is a limit to the feminist movement, right? Not trying to put, you know, too much political slander into here, but
Mhm.
my goal, or like the goal I think of society in general, should be progression, not regression.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing is a lot of regression backwards to old ways of thinking, or if you don't fall in line with what I'm telling you, then you're wrong automatically without even discussing or having a proper structured debate.
Yeah.
You know, and John, you know this, I'm not a debater. I don't like to debate people, I really
Mhm.
don't, right? Because those who know do not speak. It's right out of the DALL. And I know a lot about things and a lot about the world. I just tend not to give my opinion because I'm a practicing Taoist, and it's irrelevant for me to express my opinion personally. It doesn't really matter to me because I'm ego independent and detached from the outcome of things, or at least I try to be. I'm not perfect. I'm still a human being.
Yeah.
I still have programming from my childhood that I'm trying to work through. You know, but what I want to stress about the Doomer Bloomer podcast or the Yukon Gold podcast or even the Daily Taoist is I'm not trying to be controversial. I'm not trying to spark debate.
Mhm.
They're just supposed to be a community, right? I'm trying to build communities of people doing interesting things across Western Canada, United States, and eventually the globe, right? That's my vision for this podcast, and that's my vision for for the Doomer. Like I'm calling it the Doomer Bloomer Institute, right, man? I'm moving like we. I mean yourself. I can feel the vibe of 2023. It's 10x 2023. It's get to another higher level of your life, right? Stop engaging in the politics and just put your head down. Actually relax. Take time to relax. Schedule it into your life.
Yeah.
I look at my calendar now, John. And you know what? I basically halved my work week. I really have. Right? I don't actually work that hard at things I don't enjoy.
Yeah.
I just put my head down, I turn my phone off, and I work for 4 hours straight, and then I'm done for the day. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have to, you know what I mean? Then I can go for a walk. I can go for a swim. I can go to the gym,
Yeah. I mean,
right? Like,
getting back to what you said about politics and all that. I mean, ultimately, little, even drastic political changes, if you don't have your own life and your own ducks in a row,
yep.
it's not going to make that much of a difference.
No, man.
Let's say, for instance, since we're on the topic of AI a little bit, and we're going to maybe transition in the current economical state of the world, is like, UBI is becoming again on the forefront of conversation, and I think there's some really valid points on having it. Right, it doesn't matter if you are against it or not, and what your political views are on it. The fact is, like, even if you everyone gets a paycheck and their basic needs are met, once that novelty wears off, people are still going to be fighting. Like, people used to fight for scraps of food,
Yep.
and it's still, to in certain countries, to this current day, right?
Yep.
People that have or societies that have overcome the fighting of scraps of food fight for other stuff, status or money, the bigger house.
Well, you just start moving up the Maslow's hierarchy pyramid of needs, right? You just start moving up.
Exactly, right? So if you're not taking responsibility of your own life and just continuously blaming whatever system, be it capitalism, be it communism, be it socialism or whatnot, and you're not paying attention to what you can do to maximize your own potential and
Well,
strength yourself, because like life, it doesn't matter what regime or what situation there is. Like there's definitely some regimes and systems and so on that are better than others, that there's no denying that. But if you're gonna base your life on, oh, I can't do anything because we're in this situation
yeah,
versus this, like,
victim mindset.
yeah, essentially you're gonna be fucked either way. There's
Yep.
gonna be, like, China is a communist, is still a communist economy, and it has a lot of problems. But however, there's always been people that were able to do great things within that economy, even with all the restrictions and authoritarian ways and so on. Probably those same people, if they were in America, would have done even more. You know, just because like the climate economically was better for a person like that. But like if you turn yourself, if you consider yourself like you're a seed of some sort, of some type of plant, and your goal is to try to become like this might not be the best analogy, but if your potential just breaks down even before you actually start growing into a plant, it doesn't matter what soil we put you in, you're going to be a shitty ass plant, right? You're going to get you're going to miss water for for a day or two, and you're going to die. As like another plant will be, doesn't matter if it doesn't have water for like 2 weeks, it's still going to thrive, right? Your goal is to be that plant. You might not thrive as much if you're in a very arid area, but if you're still going to survive. You're still going to make it. You're still going to live better than a lot of other people because made it. You made it your mission to improve your own circumstances, whatever you can control to a certain degree, whatever is in within your power, no matter how small, you try to optimize. And that's a very hard thing to do. I mean, like this is. It feels like I feel like when I really decided to turn my life around, it's a constant struggle against oneself. It's a constant struggle to override your impulse to do what feels easy and pleasurable in the moment, and
That's Epicureanism, right?
yeah, compared to what is going to lead you to something better down the line. And
Yeah.
like I'm going to the gym after this, and part of me is like, I just kind of feel like chilling after we're done here. But I know after I go to the gym, I'm gonna feel a lot better. Like overall, like I ate a lot of pasta yesterday, and my brain's still kind of like foggy
Yeah.
from it, right? And I know though that if I go to the gym, I'm gonna have a much better brain tomorrow. Like tomorrow, like markets open, I got like business to take care of in three different industries. I mean, I need to be sharp, and if I just continue eating crappy food today, it's good to indulge. I like to indulge in the pleasures of the world, but if I do it continuously, I'm gonna lose my edge, and it's important to have an edge in this world. So, back to my point, and to your point, yeah, politics are somewhat important. I think it's good to pay attention to it, and
But don't let it cloud your whatever you have going on, right?
yeah, and don't let it be the determining factor of why your life is going good or not, right?
Yeah. Be detached from that nonsense, man.
Yeah,
Just detach. Detach. I mean, I was there in 22, 21, guys, believe me. But I detached myself in 2022. I detached from all of that thought nonsense in that arena.
yeah. You
And
got
now
you got
I'm
possessed with the to be
well, I'm focused on the future. I'm focused on the now, right?
Yeah.
That focus on the now. Like what am I doing today? What am I doing this week, this month, the next 3 months, 6 months, 9, 12? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And just be the as be rich. What Richard Cooper says is you got to be the focus of your life,
Yeah.
right? The mental focus of it.
Yeah. And with the current economic climate right now, I mean, shit's
You,
gonna get real.
well,
I,
yeah,
I truly believe it's already starting, but I think like the most like
we're
1 year ago, everyone thought like we're gonna have like a soft landing economically because of like
no,
uh,
we're on the precipice. I mean, on the precipice. And
yeah,
I'm not a financial guru or a real estate guru or any sort of guru.
yeah,
I just follow accounts like Robert Kiyosaki, Whiteboard Finance, anybody else in that space,
hmm
and I defer to their expert judgment, and I just prepare myself accordingly, right?
Well, I kind of like as you know I delve a lot deeper than that. Like Robert, I don't really follow Robert Kiyosaki for because like, he seems to
Well, he's very promotional, which I just kind of take that with a grain of salt.
yeah. Like he's been spitting out like doom and gloom shit for a while, even way before like
Oh
when.
yeah, of course.
But like I think like he is touching upon some fundamental problems.
A more modern guy probably would be Whiteboard Finance.
Yeah, well, I like to defer like being you know Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio's. I love
Yeah, Ray Dalio is a good yeah.
Tasty Works. That's more like trading and stuff like that, trading options to be specific, which I'm super into. But
But they're those.
if I hate BlackRock, especially with their ESG, and that's a whole different debate. We're going to be done soon. But like even like BlackRock, who's the single like probably the entity that has the most control of capital in the world by far. We're talking about trillions of dollars of capital they control. I mean, they're making companies like Apple and Netflix and all that their bitch, but like even they're saying, hey, like this the old ways of investing and all that, these are going to die. Like that, this is going to be done. Well, like,
Yep.
you know,
Well, there's a whole principle, John. Is
Blackman
the
and all that. Like they're
the
banks, J.P. Morgan, like
uh,
we're not talking about YouTubers here. We're talking about like fucking the people that are at the elite of of this. You know, we're saying last year, oh yeah, we're gonna be okay, and they're like, maybe not. Like Jeff Bezos,
well, I mean, look at the tech layoffs, right? Just
yeah,
look at them.
Elon Musk. They're all saying exactly.
Like,
And a
I
lot of
mean,
people are saying because like, oh, the jobless claims are still besides like those tech layoffs, they're still low and are still having trouble. But that's a lot of it is like the restaurant industry, right? If you like dig into the numbers, like these like the big employers, like the multinational companies are cutting people. It's the
oh
small
yeah, oh
businesses
yeah,
that
man,
don't really that haven't caught up yet
yeah,
that are still seeing, oh no, we're fine, we still need more people. They because a lot of smaller businesses they don't pay attention to the
the
macroeconomic
the
things.
macroeconomics, man,
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely.
So I think a lot of people are going to get hit with like we already see the symptoms like with real estate prices they're
Oh
going
yeah.
down, but interest rates are super are
Well,
through the
that
roof.
that that's right. If you locked in a rate 3 to 5 years ago, you're going to be okay. But in this climate, you have to be very savvy and choosy with your deals.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Like people that like a lot of people that bought property in the pandemic, they're kind of in a really precocious situation now. You bought
Yep.
real estate in 2020. or 2021 is probably even worse because the prices in 2021 were through the roof, but banks were
Yeah.
just giving out mortgages regardless
Yeah.
to very low interest rates. A lot of
Yeah.
people did not lock in the rates, or you have a locked in rate, but it's only locked in for 3 to 4 years. So
Yeah.
now you have a property that was completely inflated when you bought it. That's
Yeah.
going down now because there's less demand,
Yeah.
and because like
Well,
interest rates are high,
I've
they're more strict. And now you have a property that's been devalued compared to when you bought it, and now your interest rate payments are going up. So even if you wanted to leave that, sell that property and get out of your obligations, you're fucked because you cannot sell that property at the price you bought it for, and now you're going to have to pay a much more money than you've been paying in the 3 4 years.
Yep. I've been trying to get my mom to take some equity out of her house, but I don't know. I mean, it is what it is.
Mhm.
Like, it's really important in this day and age to become financially educated, right?
Yeah,
there's no way around it. You have to.
yeah.
I've spent the last 15 years of my life getting financially educated, right? So,
Oh yeah, it's you're going to be learning every day.
and I
Investments.
never stop learning, man.
Yeah, like if we're gonna kind of like just give like a overview of what's going on in the world. Actually, this week, U.S. reached, I think, 30 trillion in debt, basically meaning that they're out of reserve capital, and they
Mm,
either have to get the debt ceiling raised, or they're going to have to default on certain debts and obligations, like through bonds and stuff like that. Okay,
yep.
this is where we're at right now. You've got China that's been on lockdown. That's like has a devastated economy, also in the real estate space. That basically bankrupted a whole bunch of, like, they're basically bankrupt. They're being bailed out by the government, but they, long story short, the real estate market in China, which is kind of like the only medium typical, like, your everyday citizen in China had for investing money, contrary to here out west where we have more options like stocks and bonds and stuff like that. The average, like, person here has their money invested by hedge funds and stuff like that, mutual funds and so on, in these instruments. Chinese, they put their savings in real estate because it kept on going up, and now that's not the case anymore. So you've got the two biggest world economies that are leveraged up to the ceiling in an inflationary period, and now you have like central banks that are doing everything they can to lower that inflation by hiking up interest rates, which ultimately always affects the economy by
It's
slowing
yeah.
it down.
It's the opposite of quantitative easing.
Exactly. Exactly. It's quantitative tightening. I mean, that's what it. That's the actual term. So they're tightening everything because they want the economy to go haywire and continue growing and growing, and ultimately grow inflation. So you have all these dominoes set right now,
Yep.
and I mean, already 2022 was completely insane for stock market and real estate market, more so in the stock market, but even in the bond market. And again, we don't have time to go in all the different things, but there's a lot of dominoes stacked up. And if one of them falls, where it starts affecting, it's already like inflation is already affecting everyday people. Like, people, I hear it all the time, even people with decent amounts of money complaining about food. And I did my groceries yesterday. We're only two, plus our pets. It's costing us like like between 2 and 250 a week.
Yep.
Like
If
we
you want to,
actually
if
we
you
like
want to eat health, yeah. If you want to eat healthy, yeah.
like I don't look at I don't look too much at pricing. Like if I want something, I'm fortunate to be in this situation where if I want something to eat, I'm not gonna like, oh, I gotta pinch my pennies. But I can only imagine if you have two or three kids at home. I've talked about this with people that have families and that that make decent money. Like they're flipping out. Like this shit is tightening. Like and that's just on the food front. Everything else, insurance has gone up, be it vehicle insurance, life insurance, and so on. This is the first time where, like, I mean, I'm in the trucking industry. One of the industries I'm in is the trucking industry. This is the first time in history where if you bought a truck in 2018 or 19, typically, if you buy a truck, the value of that truck is going to go down, right? But because of inflation, used trucks started gaining more value. Freight
Oh
truck.
my god! Oh my god! My dad is a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, but like we're not talking about like two like older trucks, but like if you bought like a truck maybe within the 5 years
Oh yeah.
before the pandemic, by 2021, there's a good chance your truck had more value on the market, on the used truck market, than when you bought it brand new. That's absolutely insane. That's never happened before. So we're in a very crazy financial situation, economic environment right now, and and to get back to that point, I for some reason I feel like reiterating get your ducks in a row, man. Because cross your T's and dot your I's because you're in a world of pain if you're not prepared.
Oh yeah.
Even if you're
Keep.
prepared, you might like I'm kind of nervous about like the different industries I'm in. Like the
Well,
IT
I mean,
industry, and then like the transportation industry and retail industry, and so on.
yep.
Because if it's really really bad, no one is going to be moving anything. No one is going to big companies like on the IT side of things, like big companies are not going to invest in their IT infrastructure. They're going to make do with the infrastructure they have. It's People are not going to be buying stuff online and like furniture and so on. And
That's just negative thinking. Get in a positive mainframe.
well, no,
I mean,
I'm
there.
I'm realistic, right? Like
Yeah, I'm
I'm prepared in the sense that I know a lot of trucking companies they don't do online advertising, right?
yeah.
I know I have an edge on that. Like I know if I become like this is actually I see it as an opportunity, but you need to adapt, and adaptation is always difficult. Like in the transportation industry, I know if I put a lot of money into the online ads, like Google Ads and social media and stuff like that, we're gonna blow away the competition. But it's gonna be a change. It's gonna be hard, and you got to be weary. You got to be vigilant about it.
Yep.
Like I'm not worried that I'm going to go under. I am I am vigilant. I do when I say I am nervous. I'm like shit's going like I'm from the mindset that shit's going to happen, and a healthy dose of nervousness is good in this situation.
There is no fear in the Tao, my friend. There's
Well,
none.
I don't agree with that. There's fear. The
No, I disagree.
fear is part of the Tao, right? Like
No,
if like all negative or
no,
positive emotions,
no.
they all exist.
The law of one. No.
On the law of one,
You have to. You have to. What's the opposite of fear? Is hope, right? Hope and fear are integrated with one another,
well, they
right?
are, but like
You
saying
have you
saying
have
there's
to you
no
have to look you
fear,
have to you
saying
have
there's
to
no fear
you
is
have to look it
there
from
is
look
no
at it.
fear.
Sure, you can have fear if you want, but in my reality, I don't have fear.
Okay, well, in my reality, all these elements, like saying there's no fear, is like saying there's no hope.
No, I'm saying there's both at the same time.
For sure, for sure. I
You can actually be
like for me,
hopeful to
I'm
you
from the
can.
philosophy that if you use whatever energy is within you and you
Yep.
don't fight it, but you
No, of
actually
course,
use it as a tool,
of course.
it's gonna get you to where you want to be.
If you want to use that side of it, go right ahead.
Because like if you're fearful about something, your body's
I
telling you something.
yeah, I know,
You
but
know, like if you let's say you're in the big city and
yeah,
you're going you're let's say you're in Vancouver, make a wrong turn and you're in you're in
I'm not.
Hastings or whatever, and then you got like 5 6 meth heads
Yeah,
surrounding
I'm not. I'm not saying that fear doesn't exist. I'm just saying it's not a useful barometer in terms of trying to create something. It's definitely useful when you're fighting crackheads in Vancouver, 100%.
Well, I think it's very useful in business, to be honest.
It depends. I'm actually gonna have to disagree with you there.
No, I think it's.
Um,
I believe it's actually a very useful tool in business. If you're like
I think you need a better word. I think risk assessment might be a better word for it.
no, fear is like your is a preliminary. Like if you operate based only on fear, like that's not good.
No, agreed.
If your fear is like this like in the like stock market is a very good example. Let's say
Yep.
I'm in a trade.
Well, this is why I don't do stock trading on a
Yeah,
daily.
let's say I'm in a trade and I'm like
Like, yeah, you
I,
have a better constitution for it.
I bought a stock. I won't use options or more complex trading tools or whatnot or derivatives.
Jargon. Yep.
I bought a stock. The stock had a nice dip. Historically, the support level where the price is has always rebounded by there. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy for sure. I'm gonna make like $5 to $10 per share. I'm gonna buy 1,000 shares.
Hmm.
It starts dipping a little bit, and you're like, I have no fear. You know, it's going to it's going to work. And now it dips another couple dollars. Now you're like five something, so you're over $5,000 in the hole, and you're like, I have no fear because I know it always bounces here. But then it continues and
Hmm.
continues, and now you're like down fifteen
Yeah.
thousand dollars on your share.
This is why I'm going to use Chat GPT to just make a script and do it automatically, because I don't have your constitution, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Right. My constitution is to sit and make some reasonable assessments of the markets, but on a daily, I wouldn't be able to sit there and watch stock prices. Just not my thing.
Yeah, yeah, and that's fine. That like know thyself. But the point is there if like for me, if I start seeing something go against me,
Yep.
there's like a fear center in my brain. And
Yep.
this is proven. It's a biological like you like they've tested this on even like the most seasoned traders that live and breathe this.
They like hook them up to machines and check their cortisol levels and stuff.
They check all that and like the regions of the brain that light up are no different than the regions of the brain that light up if you're under physical attack, right?
Okay. Okay. So your fight or flight nervous system is actually
is
activated.
is is is
Okay. So you're talking about fear on a biological level. I thought you were meaning it on a psychological level.
well, I mean, if you're experiencing it on a biological level, it is going to translate psychologically to a certain degree.
Okay. So we're looking at the root axis to your nervous system here.
Yes,
Well,
exactly.
then I can agree with you.
Hmm.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, and I think what you mean is like you don't want to operate on fear
No.
as I know what you're saying. I
I operate from the perspective of playing to win, not playing to lose. I guess I play offensively, not defensively.
well I'm definitely like be it when I play chess or I make trades and stuff like that. Like I'm someone that's fairly aggressive
Yeah,
the way I'm built and my constitution and so on. But like life has taught me
yeah,
that there's dangers and risks and if you don't pay attention, if you don't listen to that part of yourself, you're going to make mistakes because you can have like the most informed assumption about something, be it like in trading, be it in business or whatever. But if you're like, no, I'm just going to see the positive and not pay attention to the things that's like akin to putting your head in the sand to a certain degree. And then you have the predator, if you're an animal doing that, like an ostrich or whatever, then you have the lion. It's like, oh, everything's good. I saw that lion over there. He didn't see me. I was going to put my head in the sand. And then the lion's like, oh, shit, free meat. and
Oh yeah.
has himself like a giant chicken burger. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got the way I see the Tao. I'm not as devout to you, but I I try to take the best out of philosophies. Is all these, the negative or the positive, they all exist, and they all exist for a reason. And if your fear center is telling you something, I think it's best that you pay attention to it.
Well, you're talking about gut instincts, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about whatever your instinct, but like your instinct is gonna tell you, is gonna inform your psychology, and then which is gonna inform your rational brain that something's going on, right?
Yeah. So what we can agree on is that there is always an element of fear in every venture that we undertake.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's use it as like a certain tool that wakes you up, kind of like a cold shower, saying, "Hey, something's
Yeah, it's
here."
like a dose, like it's just call it like a dose of reality, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what fear is to kind of, now if you let it become the dominant, your dominant way operating in the world, then you've got a problem.
Yeah. I
When
yeah.
like use
I just
fear as a wake up call to pay attention to what's going on and what it's trying to tell you, and then work with work with your conclusions to actually avoid the obstacle or the danger or whatnot, or overcome it or whatever, right? For someone like that eats really bad or smokes cigarettes or whatnot, maybe a healthy dose of fear is good for them.
maybe.
If they don't have no fear of dying of lung cancer or diabetes or whatnot, they're like, it's all good. It's all going to be good.
Well, I mean, they're on a track, right?
Exactly, right? And if they have no fear about the potential bad outcomes that can come from that, then they're kind of in a world of trouble down the line. Maybe a healthy dose of fear is what they actually needed to make better choices in their life.
Yep.
Yeah.
Make better choices, folks. On that note, John, we're at an hour and a half,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna have to call it.
Yeah. Speaking of health and all that, gym time for me. So, yeah, hey, it was a pleasure. It's been a long time and felt good to, as always, to discuss all these various ideas and events in the world. And who knows when the next one will be, but I'm sure it'll be.
Yeah, I won't hold you to a regimented schedule like me.
Exactly. Well, we had that the first season. I kind of won my own schedule after that, but whatever. It's I'm still here in the flesh on occasion, so I'm sure I'll be back on, and we'll discuss many more interesting things then.
All right, thanks guys for listening to the Doomer Boomers. Check us out on Podchaser or wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a review. Subscribe to the Patreon at the Alexa level 69 me, bros and ladies. And have yourself a great and prosperous day. Namaste. Cheers.
Have a good day. Bye bye.